But first, can we play a little game? Are you guys down for a little objection handling game? I'm getting hesitant head nods. So we're going to switch gears here. Let me get this up. Shoot, you guys are going to see all my secrets. Is talking about role play objection style. So I just want to play a little bit game with everybody where we're going to be talking about how do we avoid objections and how do we overcome them with good training. And you guys will notice I'll reference Ben a lot, obviously, because we run a business together, and we talk this kind of stuff almost every day right now, where I encourage my team to basically say, hey, what types of objections are you getting right now? We're going to go through like the 6 most common objections that I hear in calls, and I listen to a lot of calls, guys. And so I hear a bunch of them, but my encouragement to you before we even get started here is to understand when it comes to objections, if you are getting them and you aren't, if they're the same ones you're getting, there's probably something we can do to avoid them with good questions. And if you are just like, you're getting a question and you're like, I never know what to do here and the deals always die and I need to send a box of cookies, which please do, please send the cookies, but don't use that as a backstop. Like, you should figure out how in your calls to overcome them with good training. Because here's the reality about any sales call, is there's only about a handful of objections you're ever going to get. Only about a handful. And so instead of saying like, yeah, man, we get the easy contracts and then somebody, they got to talk to their wives and da-da-da. I'm like, well, are you trying to overcome the objection? I'm like, no, dude, I just, sort of follow up or ask when the da-da-da. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like, you're telling me you're getting the same 5 reasons somebody won't sign, and instead of learning how to overcome that, you're just like letting it go into the ether? Come on, right? And so the point here is if your objections are killing your sales, you're losing because you're not training. You're losing because you're not training, right? So step 1 is to always be identifying the objections that are coming. As you hear them, write them down, put them in your Slack group, talk to your business partner, your teams, whoever, and be like, hey, dude, I keep getting this objection. I don't know what to do. Can you please help me, right? If you're an acquisition manager in the room, will you raise your hand? I know we got at least 3 or 4 in here. Sweet. So looks like a handful. I'm just encouraging you guys right now, like your business operators, whatever you want to call them, the guys you're working with, the guys and gals you're working with, they want to know what roadblocks you're hitting. Because if we figure it out together, we both make more money. And I don't think, does anybody in here run a non-for-profit? I run a for-profit real estate business. It doesn't always feel that way, but I run a for-profit real estate business, right? And so I want to make sure we are producing as much business as possible. So if I know I'm losing deals because of the same 6 reasons, is it reasonable to say we should train for them? Right. And when you hear them, we should bring them up to as many people as possible to learn how to overcome them, okay? And so what I want to do in this time is just talk about how, hey, we're going to go through a couple of objections. I'm going to pull some people up. Do I have your permission to call you out? Okay, I heard all unanimous yeses, so I'll take that as a yes. And we're going to throw an objection on the screen, and we're going to talk about how we would avoid that objection or overcome it, all right? So first one, you called me, you tell me. Y'all ever get that one? Oh, I heard some, who wants to, do I have any volunteers who want to do this with me? Dan, let's go, come on up. Here, let me get you oh, wrong one, hang on. Bree, do you still have the second mic? Check. Did we have one that was going around the room? Where did that end up? Dan, you're here now, so we'll hand this up. We'll figure it out here soon. So, how would you avoid you called me?
Oh, avoid it.
Avoid it.
This is a tricky one, because I know the response, but the avoidance. I just got up here now.
This is good. It's okay. And now there's a bunch of pressure, so your brain's probably going blank.
Yeah. So. You got it.
You're good, Dan. You don't
well, I mean, is it you? So when you hear that, but do you lead with like, hey, I know I called you.
Exactly. So, yep, run through it.
So, hey, I know I called you, but...
And we hold the mic a little closer up.
Yeah, I know I called you, but, you've owned this property for a long time. Because you've owned it for a long time, you probably got a pretty good sense of what you're looking to get out of it. So, I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste mine. Like, I really need something to bring back to my team.
Boom.
Yeah, so like
How do you think Dan did? Pretty good, right? Yeah, I agree. And you're totally right. So well, we train in our group, right? You called me, you tell me. I hear that pretty often. You guys hear that nowadays, right? Hey, what are you looking to get for the property? Well, you called me, you tell me, right? So what we do is we use a principle from Eminem. Anybody know Slim Shady? Anybody? Josh? Okay, cool. Alan said, yeah, bro, that's my guy. I thought Bad Bunny was... But Eminem is great. The reason I bring him up is because in the movie 8 Mile, right at the very end, he's in the third rap battle. And in that movie, he hits the dude that plays, what's the Marvel character he ends up playing? Something Falcon?
Anthony Mackie.
Anthony Mackie, thank you. I forget his name in this movie, but Eminem's up there and I am white. I am a oopin' bum. I do live in a trailer with my mom, right? And then he hands the mic over and Mr. Mackey's got nothing to say to him because he already said it first. So what I want you guys to recognize with a lot of these objections, sometimes you just need to say the objection first, right? So when I go for asking for their asking price, they're going to say, well, hey, you called me, so I'm going to say it first. Or I'm going to be like, hey, Dan, so I know I reached out to you, but can I ask, before we reached out, did you have an asking price in mind, right? And now he can't be like, well, you called me because I just said that. I already said that. You can't say that. Now, 1 in 10 sellers might. Nick, was it you? I think there's always going to be a couple that are just kind of stupid and don't follow, the normal brain pathways of humans. But holistically speaking, 9 times out of 10, this will work, right? How would you overcome this, though, Dan? Because that's what you came up here for originally. I'm curious what you had.
Yeah, well, I think I just kind of laid it out, right? I mean, you called me, and then you kind of launched into that. I know I did, but
yep.
Can you say it's on my... I mean, I'm kind of addressing it like that. That's kind of...
Yeah, it's pretty similar. It's pretty similar, right? So, hey, yeah, first thing I'm always going to do when I get an objection is acknowledge it. Yeah, you're totally right. I did call you, right? And the reason we called is because we're interested in buying a couple properties in the area. Typically, how this process goes is X, Y, Z, and then I'm always going to come back with another question, right? So hey, typically how this process goes is we ask a couple questions and get into numbers. I do need to verify a few more pieces of info before I can, make sure I have the right number in front of me. But can I ask, did you have a number in mind? Right, so I'm just going to run through it again. And Nick, you're the king of this, dude. I remember on one of your calls, you asked this guy 4 times on this for his asking price before you made your offer, which was savage. Was anybody on that call, that inner circle call? Yeah, there were a couple people. It was totally savage. And I was like, man, I use you as an example for that because the best closers know sometimes you've got to ask more than once, right? So Dan, you can go ahead and get seated, man. Thank you. Everybody thank Dan for coming up. Yep, got him right here. Hey, I know we're the ones that reached out to you, but can I ask, were you considering before you called? Totally understand we're the ones that reach out to you. Can I ask, are you getting a lot of other people calling about your property, right? So there's different angles you can go. I actually want to touch on this, overcoming it. Can I ask, are you getting a lot of other people calling you about your property? So the principle there is if we ask another question, we take power back in the conversation. Whoever's asking the questions is in power. I need to acknowledge what they're saying before I can ask a question, though. And when I do that, they're going to say, yeah, people call me all the time. And I'll be like, oh, why haven't you worked with anybody that's called? Right? And it's going to lead me down another path. Well, the offers are too low. Oh, got it. So it sounds like you know what a no would be. Can I ask what would be a yes? Because they're already turning down other offers. And now they can't really be like, well, you called me, But you're naturally getting the conversation to a point where it makes sense again, all right? So, next objection. What's your offer? You guys ever get this in the first 90 seconds of the call? What's your offer? All right, I need another volunteer. Dan was bold. There's ways we can avoid this and ways we can overcome it. Okay, Pete's coming up. Hey, Bree, do we know where the second mic is?
Oh, here it is.
No, not that one. It's the one that looks like this.
Oh.
The one we were passing around. Is it just hidden somewhere and I'm not seeing it? Oh, it's behind my mug. That's funny.
That big old mug.
Let's get Pete, yeah. Thanks for your patience, everybody. All right, let's get over here, Pete.
All right, avoid. I would maybe pre-frame the call properly.
Okay, framing.
Yeah, with the, take about 5-10 minutes, have a few questions, then we'll jump into an offer. It's now a good time to talk.
Totally. Agreed. Everybody here know what framing is? No, yeah. That was great, man. That was great. Do you guys know what framing is? Anybody not know what framing is when I'm talking about framing? Right, so setting the agenda for you say, tell us. So when I'm framing, I'm talking about basically creating a frame. Like a door frame helps us know where the door is going to go. A frame in my call is going to be something I say in the first 90 seconds telling the seller, here's the agenda for the call, so they have an expectation of how long is this going to take, what do you want, what are we doing, right? Because, dude, a lot of times if we don't have this on the books, they don't know what they're getting into. And guys, we're forgettable. I know you don't want to think it because this is our business every day. but we're like a Yahoo that hit them up off some whatever marketing that's trying to buy their piece of property that's not for sale. Like you can imagine in their brains, we are nobody to them, respectfully, right? Until we send them some bomb cookies. And so because of that, we just got to be sure that we're telling them how this call is going to go, because in the back of their heads, like if somebody calls me, I'm like, dude, what do you want and how long am I going to be on the phone? I got stuff. Is anybody here busy? Anyone? No? Not everyone? Okay, well, I'm busy. Most of our sellers are busy. Alan likes to take, no, I'm just playing. But we're all busy. Americans also have like busy pride. Like we're all proud of busy. When you want to brag to your friends, oh, Pete, you don't know what I've had going on recently, man. I've got so much going on. Everyone's got so much going on.
30 minutes a day.
Yeah, I've been waking up at 10 p.m. the night before to make sure I get a full work day in. But that's a great way to avoid the objection. Let's talk about overcome. Somebody hits you with what's your offer.
And that's like a minute or two into the call.
Yeah, well, what's your offer? I know you came up here to avoid, which is always better than right. And we get the objection when we don't avoid it.
As I mentioned, like, I got a couple more questions. We're almost there. I mean, you wouldn't want to buy a car before seeing it and taking a test drive, would you? I don't know. I just threw that out. But sometimes I will joke with them a little bit. Sometimes I'll joke with them a little bit.
Sure.
Like that, depending on the rapport and all that. I'll call them out. Like, especially if I just framed the call and said that, and a minute later they're saying that, I probably will call them out a little bit. Like,
Yep.
I just told you, dude.
Yeah, for sure, man. Hey, like I just said, like I just need to ask a couple more questions, verify some information, and then after that we'll be able to get into an offer. Should take just like another 5 minutes. You have about 5 minutes, right? And if I can finish that off with a question, take back power in the conversation.
Yeah.
It's always going to hit, man. Sometimes I'll say, hey, we need to verify a few more details, and then just insert whatever question you've got. You can go straight into a property question, or you can ask a permission-based question, right? So, Pete, you did a great job. Let's give a hand for Pete. Yeah, that's perfect. I got it.
Thanks, sir.
All right. I need to talk to my wife. Aaron's giving me the eyes right now. You know, the worst part, I never give anybody this objection. I might tell them other things even though I need to talk to my wife. But it's so funny when you train on objections. Like, I'll talk to sales guys and I'll be like, hey, dude, how long have you been doing sales? Like, 4 years. I'm like, cool. I'm going to hit you with the timing objection. Like, I'll tell them the objection I'm hitting them with so they can prep for it. Be like, dude, I got to hit you with a wife objection. Like, nah, I'm going to hit you with a price objection. Dude, that's too much money. Like, I'll tell them the exact objection in my brain. But, hey, need to talk to my wife. Anybody volunteer? Nick, you're a savage, dude. I just got to call you up, man. We got to hear you in action. I've been gassing you up all day. What's our go-to question to avoid?
I need to talk to the wife. Yeah, so I would typically kind of reframe it, ask who's on the title. Good. Typically, it's like, if we were to, come to some kind of agreement today, is there anybody else we need to sign off on the deed of the property? And then they're typically like, oh yeah, my wife, my husband, no. And then it's usually like, I'm kind of blanking here. I'm just trying to think from a role play perspective.
No, man, that's good.
To ask. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's well, so you hit me with the avoid. You want me to hit you with the objection?
Yeah, just say, well, I'll say, if we were to
come to terms on a price today, is there anybody else that needs to sign off on this before we can move forward?
yeah, and say, I need to talk to my wife.
I need to talk to my wife.
Got it. And have you guys had that conversation before about selling the property?
We have.
You have. And what did she say when you talked about selling the property?
Pretty much it's my decision.
Okay, got it. And then I would just, take the call from there. And whatever the price is or whatever you guys talk about, just continue it. But just make sure they've had the conversation before. Just make sure they're on board so they don't hit you with it later. So I just reframe it.
Totally.
And then for overcoming,
Yeah, man, I need to talk to my wife.
yeah, no, I totally understand. I kind of do the same thing. I feel like it's both. I always ask them if they've had the conversation before and what they said.
Totally.
Are they even aware that we're having this conversation right now?
Yep.
That's typically what I do. I know you like to do are we in secret mission right now?
Yeah, that's a good one. I get cheeky with my sales though. I'm a little like that. What's up, Dan?
Did you just tee it up a second ago where you're like, you said something like, I'm in control or I'm the decision maker?
Yeah, I'm the decision maker. Yeah, it's ultimately it's my decision.
Would you like to use that as like an objection when you're like, well, I thought you were the decision maker?
Yeah, I will. And again, so that's a great point. And this is something we talk about where again, you can't get mad at confused, right? This is something I want to like keep hitting where it's just like, dude, it's so hard to be mad at somebody that's confused. That's why we can't be mad at old people. That's why we can't be mad at dumb kids. Sorry, I shouldn't say that. But kids that don't get it, maybe would be the better way to put it. So later on in the call, if we're talking, we agree to price, and then somebody hits me with, well, I need to talk to my wife. I'll be like, okay, totally makes sense. Like I usually have to talk to my wife before big decisions, but can I ask you a question, Dan? Right? And you'd be like, yeah, sure, go ahead. Earlier in the call, you did mention it was ultimately your decision. So did I misunderstand that then, or is there something I'm missing here? Right? And I'm going to call him out a little bit, and his machismo pride may come out, may not. You know, it just kind of depends. But I'll use ego to my advantage to close the sale if I have to. I'll break up. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. I'll cause a quick riff in the house. No, I'm just kidding. But the point being, I totally will use that to a benefit. Something else we'll do when we're overcoming is, I'll get cheeky of like, hey, does she even know we're talking, or are you on some kind of secret mission? Yeah. Right? That's one that I've used before, and usually gets a chuckle. Again, you like should have built up some good rapport for banter. If you're just like coming out the gate with that, people are going to think you're a little weird. You know, I'll be like, who is this dude, right? And I'll be like, no, man, no secret mission. I just have to talk to her. I'll be like, hey, man, totally makes sense. Well, can I ask, like, have you guys turned down other offers in the past? We have. Okay. So why do you think she'd be against this offer? Well, honestly, I know she wants more money, right? So, like, a lot of times you already know. Like, I was just talking to Jackson and Daniel in the back here, and I was telling them, because they were asking me about a specific lead in their pipeline, and it was basically to the effect of like, okay, and Nick, you can go sit down, dude. You crushed it. Everyone give a quick round of applause for, no, dude, you did great. You did great. Blake, what you got?
I have kind of a thought on this. So I've got like one deal in particular, 47 acres, gorgeous piece. A guy I really hit it off with on the phone, and it's a big decision for him and for his family. You know, it's a big dollar value. It's a piece of property that he loves. He just needs some money to move closer to his family. So it's just him on the phone. It's not his wife. Him and his wife are on title. Okay. It becomes clear that they're both on title, but I still present them the offer. Of course. But then, kind of my style has always been like, I'll actually give him the freedom. Like, it's a big decision for him. He tells me he wants to talk with his wife about it. Yep. And I almost encourage him in that, you know, where it's sure. Yeah, it's a big decision. Like, hey, let's schedule a call. We got a call scheduled tomorrow or Monday, I guess. Yep. So I guess I'm trying to learn like what is your style and your suggestion with these is like, okay, we find out there's two people on title. Am I not presenting the offer so I can get them both on the phone, or so I can get them to commit that he's ready? Or
it's a great question. Sorry, was there more?
No, or is it more like, hey, I'm going to present my offer either way, and then if he needs to wrestle with it with his wife, and some people it's legitimate, I think, but most people it's like I tell people I got to talk this over my wife. I don't talk these deals over with my wife.
Neither do most of our sellers, right? That's the reality, which is why my suggestion to you here is like most of us that have been on the phones for a while, you can kind of sniff out what's true and what's not. If this is a big decision for him and his family, dude, I'm not trying to like pressure somebody into something they don't actually want to do. It's not my goal. I just want to make sure if there's already a decision in their mind, I want feedback as soon as possible to see if we can make a deal happen. Like, have you guys ever had a deal not close and you found out it was because like the stupidest thing in the world? Like you're just like, dude, like that paragraph in the contract is why you ghosted me for 3 weeks. I could have had money in your bank account by now. You know what I mean? So my biggest thing as a closer is I want to make sure I'm getting feedback at least, right? Now, if I'm talking to that guy, realistically, Blake, especially with it being bigger deal, big decision, I'm going to at least try to sniff out what he thinks his wife is going to say. That's probably like my minimum criteria. And here's what that looks like, right? If you want to role play this together a little bit, you can be husband, I'll be acquisition manager, right? And it's just hit me with, I need to talk it over with my wife.
This is a big decision. I think I really need to talk this over with my wife over the next week.
Yeah, Blake, totally makes sense. You hit me with a time objection too, dude. You can't do that. You totally can. That's fine. But we'll tackle these one at a time. I'll be like, okay, Blake, totally understand, man. Like I also run big decisions through my wife. Makes a lot of sense. Happy wife, happy life, right? Can I ask how long y'all been married?
I've been married 30 beautiful years.
30 beautiful years. Congratulations, man. Congratulations. Can I ask what's the secret?
Oh, man. Happy wife, happy life.
Okay. Okay. Got any advice for a newlywed?
Man, just sacrifice yourself daily. be servant.
Okay, servant leader, man. I love it. I love it. Well, can I ask you a pretty blunt question here, Blake?
Sure.
After 30 years of marriage, would you say you've gotten to know your wife pretty well?
I would say so.
Okay, you would say so. Well, man, in your honest opinion, what do you think she's going to say when y'all sit down to talk about this?
I think she knows I love the property, and to be honest, I've kind of got to the point where I'm ready to let it go so we can build that greenhouse for my family. But I think she's holding on to it tighter than I am right now.
Really? And what do you think's holding her back from being ready to let it go?
I think she just knows that we love the place and we like to go out there and camp some, and I think she's just scared of a big decision.
Totally. Big decisions are scary, man. And look, I'm not trying to take away y'all's campgrounds. I mean, do you think we're at a point where this is even serious enough for y'all to sit down? Like, should we even touch base next week?
Yeah, I do think I'm ready. I do think it's time.
Sweet, man. So see, what I'm trying to do there is, I know I got... Boom, close them. But see, here's the point there, and if you didn't catch that, the macro idea is I need to lead the seller. I didn't tell you anything. All I did was ask questions, right? And so it comes back to a Dale Carnegie principle of make people think ideas are their own, where I need to get to this place, and Jackson and Daniel, this is kind of a concept I was walking you guys through a little bit ago, is I need to gauge a level of commitment if I'm really going to have a 1-week follow-up with somebody, right? And so I'm going to call them out on it a little bit even of just like, hey man, is it, like, I don't want to take away y'all's campgrounds. Like, is it even worth it for us to have another chat in a week? And now you're going to start selling me on why we need to talk again in a week. You think that guy's going to show up a little bit more than somebody else who I pressured to get an appointment on? Absolutely, right? So just from a deal probability perspective, we're probably going to connect again, which is already better. You already know the feedback, isn't about the money. I would have double isolated on price if we talked a little bit longer, right? And asked, like, hey, what do you think she's going to say when she sees the number in front of her? Do you think that's a number that she'd be willing to move forward with, right? Like, because here's the thing is, and again, obviously, dude, we're role playing. This isn't, you're not inside this guy's brain. But I could tell you with a reasonable level of confidence, he knows what her apprehensions are when it comes to selling. And if you just ask, she'll probably tell you. Or he'll probably tell you at a certain level. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So I think what you're saying is the big takeaway is, try to gauge for how he feels about it.
Totally.
But also try to get a gauge for how the spouse feels about it.
How she feels about it through him.
Yeah.
Right? And sometimes, probably 30-40% of the time, and I make up all these numbers, but they feel right in my gut, 30-40% of the time, they genuinely don't know. Or they'll tell you they don't, one or the other, right? They'll be like, well, I don't know. I'm going to have to talk to him, right? And there's only so much you can do there. But my goal is to probe as much as I can and do as much discovery as I can while I've got a seller on the phone. Ultimately, my philosophy with all lead management, all sales discovery, all conversation is to always boost the odds of us doing business together. And I can know if I can get feedback from this husband today, my odds of doing that deal are higher because even if they don't call me back right away, I'm equipped with more information. More information I have, easier it is to make decisions. Does that make sense?
Yeah. But you're still presenting the offer. You're not saying, oh, well, let's wait till we get them both on the phone, right?
Only if, wife's going to be home in 15 minutes will I wait. I don't want to waste an opportunity while we're on the phones, man. Sometimes you just got to rip the offer and keep moving. In a perfect world, all decision makers are on the phone when we make an offer. We do not live in a perfect world, and we got a lot of leads we got to sift through, right? And so my encouragement is it commits a level of seriousness when you make an offer, right? I'm trying to remember who I was just doing a car review for. I don't remember. It might have been John and Kristen McClure, they're not here. But we were listening to a call, and the seller, it asked, hey, have you turned down any of their offers? And it's like, oh, well, nobody ever calls me back after I say my asking price. And I'm like, well, then I'm at least going to present an offer, right? So there's a level of legitimacy just in that, of presenting one, that makes it more likely that they will call you back. The counter argument to that is it's going to be lower than market value, obviously. So there's a piece where they may not. And if I know that, something I've been teaching a little bit more that's a little funny, bear with me, is are you familiar with the concept book a meeting from a meeting? So what's it called? BAMFAM, right? Book a meeting from a meeting. You're always going to try to book a meeting while you're on the meeting. It's always going to be the most effective versus trying to get it later. And to make sure that second meeting happens with the wife in a week, I use what I call the promise close. Okay? And this is where if I'm talking to, sweet Pete up here up front, I'm going to say, Pete, can I be honest with you, man? Pete's going to tell me, yeah, go ahead. I'm going to say, Pete, a lot of times when we make this offer and somebody's got to talk to their wife, man, they never call me back. Right? And I'm going to let that sit in silence for a little bit. They won't know what to say. And I'll finish up with just, hey, man, can you just promise me after you guys sit down that you and I can still hop on this meeting for whatever appointment we book? Just so I know whether we can close it out or not, man, and there's feedback there. I just want to know where I could have done better is all. Can you just promise me we can at least get on the phone one more time? Right? Because, man, people just ghost you. And I hate getting ghosted, guys. And so my encouragement there, especially in a more sensitive deal, like look, those $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 deals, those aren't one-call closes a lot of times. Very seldomly are they one-call closes. 20K deals, yeah, dude, you can one-call close those all day long, right? But a $200,000 deal just takes a level of follow-up. Like I was talking to Nick about the deal that I worked on from, it was in our pipeline in summer of 2023, and we finally took title to it 2 weeks ago because I followed up on my personal cell phone for over a year for this guy, and I bought the property for $240,000, and it's on the market for $500,000 right now, and we're getting great traction on it, right? We've had how many visits now? 3, 4? What is our realtor told it? Like a handful of visits in 2 weeks on the market at $500,000, and it took me a year and a half to close that deal, right? So I don't want to pretend like every deal is a one-call close, but I also want to set up things where the odds are in my favor. So I use book a meeting from a meeting plus a promise close on something a little bit more sensitive like that. I'm not going to hard sell people that like, dude, if this guy's like got a sensitive, emotional property, I'm not going to be like, sign the contract. You know what I mean? Like, I know we all want to sometimes, but it is not good business to do that, unfortunately. Robin, did you want to add something, man?
No, I have a question.
No can do. Somebody else? No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Can someone pass the mic to him?
So it was a conversation. Did you present the offer prior to that? Does he know already what he will get or not?
I assumed you had already presented the offer at that point. Was I wrong?
presented an offer.
Yeah, okay, so yes.
Would you pre-close the husband before that? Say, hey, listen, like I understand what you're like, between the two of us. When we hop on a call and your wife said yes, do we have a deal or not? Would you do something like that?
Yeah, so I would isolate the objection for sure, right? In the sense of like, let me ask Blake, like, if your wife were to give us her blessing, if she was on board, would there be anything stopping us from working together? That's what my close looks like. I like the prevention talk track, the stopping talk track, right? Hey, if this thing didn't exist, if this thing was on our side, would anything stop us from working together to at least get that verbal commitment? Because if they hesitate, there's something else there, right? And then I'm going to call them out a little bit, and I'll be like, hey, man, can I be honest with you? Yeah, go ahead. Typically, when somebody tells me they need to talk to their wife, it's one of a couple of things. Number one, they genuinely do. Right? And look, I get it. I run a lot of big decisions through my wife. Number two is that, really they just don't like the price. Or number three, there's something they don't like about us or don't trust us, or there's something I don't know. Can I ask which one is it? Right? And I frame the question in a way, they got to give me feedback somewhere. Right? And sometimes it's genuine. No, I just need to talk to my wife. Okay, man. You would tell me if there was anything else, right? You would tell. No, I'm just kidding. I would not say that. But the point being with, that's basically calling them out on the objection to be like, hey, dude, usually when people tell me that, it's one of these three things. Can I ask which one it is? It kind of softens the blow. It's like how we talk about shifting blame with price. I'm shifting blame with that question as well of like, hey, with other people, this is the thing. With you, is that the thing? Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think that's both for our team. It's the objection we get the most willing to talk to that and that person.
Totally.
And then we establish this process of like really asking them, hey, okay, what? Would we? Yeah, no, I do. Okay, what's the real objection, right? I think so thank you.
Yeah, man, and your German closing is always going to be super straightforward, dude. Like,
and the only sellers I call are the ones which are a problem, right? So I was in different organization, but yeah.
Totally. That's good.
And they don't understand me. Sometimes they do it just like maybe as like a charity or something like that. So like when they do a buck, right?
Okay. I love it. Ari, you had a question, man?
Yeah, I was just going to actually ask the same thing he asked to a degree. I've used the strategy where you basically, you do what you did, you frame the future call of the wife. you position yourself in a place where it's like us against your wife, but obviously not really. We're not creating a rift, but we're saying, is there anything we can do to get her on board?
Right.
Right. When we call her, is there anything that you can see that we can push this to a place where she'd accept it? What do you feel she would need? Where you're already assuming that he will accept the offer.
Yep.
What do you think about that? And have you used it? I want to add on to that just really quick before you answer is, I've gone through these different objections multiple times, and I've never found this a sign. Maybe it's because it's an art. I don't know. Art, solid, right? How do you decide which one to use consistently, or are you always moving between these? Because that's something I've battled with.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's going to be between like 2 or 3. You know what I mean? There's not going to be that many options. There's a little bit of art to it. Don't get me wrong. I think you just need to be okay getting it wrong sometimes. Like I promise you, I have done a lot of things wrong on calls before I started doing them right. Because there's a function of you just learn from reps. You know what I mean? And the longer you do reps, the longer you hit lots of frequency, just you're going to learn so much. And that's why there's that whole 10,000 hour rule. Because it's just like, dude, like I've spent so much time on calls and listening to call reviews. Like my brain just gets it. And it's second nature now, right? But it took years for me to get there, right? And so I think you have to give yourself a little bit permission to know you might make the wrong move sometimes, but if you just do it enough times, you'll be fine. Does that make sense? Now, all that being said, I don't like causing rifts between families. I don't find conflict ever helps, because now, dude, if I have somebody that's making me face a decision that's pissing off my wife, I'm going to have resentment towards that person. Does that make sense? So like if you made me make a decision that I know was going to upset Aaron, I'm going to start avoiding you because you're going to make me feel emotions I don't want to feel every time we talk, regardless of whether we're straight or not. You know what I mean? You caused a conflict in my marriage, so I now will remember that experience, and you are now like that in my brain. So I don't like ripping them apart and saying, hey, just between us, but rather I like getting feedback through the person, which is where with Blake, hey, how long y'all been together? How long you been married? So if it's how long you been married and it's only been a couple years, I might even ask how long y'all been together before you were married and get more time. Oh, got it. So in 4 years, you probably got to know each other pretty well. People are always going to say yes. You can be married for 3 months and people are going to say yes. You know what I mean? So people are pretty prideful of the fact that they know their spouse well. They should be. Ideally, you know who you married, right? The point being, though, I like getting feedback rather than trying to create a rift. Might be personal preference. It might not. I like feedback a lot, though, because the more information I have, the better it is. If I kind of pressure somebody to be like, dude, give me an answer, it could go a couple different ways. If I ask him, hey, what do you think your wife's going to think? Now we're kind of some boys chatting it up, right? Or even I had a gal I was on the phone with a few weeks ago and asked her about her husband, and she was like, I just know he wants more money. I'm like, okay, well, aside from him wanting more money, would there be anything stopping us from doing this? She said, no. I said, okay, cool. If I was to get you this, what do you think he'd say? He'd want this number. So if I was to get that number, would there be anything stopping us from working together? No. So if I got you an agreement for this today, do you think we'd be able to get it signed tonight? Probably. Send it out. She ended up getting another offer from another investor, so I don't want to lie about that. But I got a verbal on the phone. So do with that what you will. But, that's how the game goes. I wasn't quick enough on the draw, right? So like I said, I still make mistakes sometimes.
You didn't get the contract fast enough, or?
I didn't do a good job of Bam Fam where I book a meeting from a meeting. I didn't book another meeting. It was kind of like, we're going to chat tonight and sign it tonight. And I wasn't going to book a 9 p.m. appointment because he got home from work late. And 2 days later, they got another call from another investor offering him $5,000 more, and I wasn't comfortable doing that on a double close. So that was kind of it. I should have hit him harder the next morning is what it should have looked like, And I didn't. And now we're here. And I'm, shameful in front of all you people. No, I'm just kidding. There is.
That I think is the superpower.
So for sure. And sorry, go ahead. Is there more to that?
That was it.
So I've been talking about that a lot. I actually, I forgot I did this, and it was really helpful. I took an acting class my freshman year of college. It was Intro to Acting, and I learned about this concept called beats of behavior. Beats of behavior. And how it goes is when you need to feel a certain way, put yourself in a place in your brain where you felt that emotion in the situation. Okay, and here's what I mean is if you need to feel angry, remember a time where you were angry. Here's the example I like to give when I'm talking to people is I'm like, dude, when I was 9 years old, I had a PlayStation 2. My brother was 14. He was 5 years older than me. The way our school system was set up, high school got out before elementary, all right? We used to race to go play that PlayStation 2, but he got out of school 25 minutes earlier. Now, my elementary school was walking distance. He took the bus, so I would try to run home sometimes, but I'll tell you what, 9 times out of 10, my brother beat me home. And I'd get home, and he'd be playing Guitar Hero, and he wouldn't let me get in for a song. And dude, I was fuming. I'd be like, I could not have done anything different. I couldn't have gotten home sooner. I ran sweaty 10-year-old, 9-year-old me getting home, and there he is playing Guitar Hero, and he won't share. And I get so worked up just thinking about it. So if I need to pretend to be mad, I'll put myself in that place. In the same vein, right, if you want to emote in some way with the seller, if you want to sound like a certain emotion, just put yourself in a place where you're like, I need to sound curious here. Okay, dude, what's something you're genuinely curious about in your life? The stars, the moon, like, I don't know, sandwiches. Like, dude, I don't know what you're curious about, right? But that's for, like, look at what you subscribe to on YouTube. Figure out what you're curious about, what you're interested in, and start thinking about that stuff as you ask these questions, right? Put yourself in that place. And that's like my 20-minute hack on tonality is just do that. Aside from that is you got to do some role play, man. One of my I want to be careful how I describe this. A client I worked with that I really like, her name's Katie Damaris. Her and her husband Brian were one-on-one clients of mine a few months ago, and they have just rocketed off. And Amar, you know Katie and Brian, they're awesome. But she told me, we worked together for, it was 6 weeks, and we got done, and she just hired on a couple new closers, lead managers, and she was like, they are crushing 3 weeks in. I'm like, really? That's pretty quick for them to be crushing. I understand people do okay, but she was showing me the numbers, and they were crushing, okay? And I remember being like, what'd you do different to train them? She's like, we did role play every hour for 2 weeks. So role play every day for an hour for 2 straight weeks. I'm like, dang, that's more than I do with some of my team. You know what I mean? That's a lot of role play. And so there's a level of just dude, if you want to be good, you have to be willing to commit to consistency here, right? These are activities that make you better. Call reviews, role play. What are Will and Blake? Good, man. Good. But does that make sense, Martin? So yeah, tonality is a big piece of it, man, but there's ways to get better at it. Number 1 is practice, and number 2 is beats of behavior, and you'll get some good takeaways there. These are great questions, guys. We have a few objections left, but we might just start hitting dials here soon. Y'all ready to get some calls in today? I feel like we've just been talking about deals all day long. I'm ready to make some happen. You guys cool with that? I'm going to blitz through these last few objections, take another question or two if anybody wants some, and then we'll do some calls. Sound good? Okay. I need to think about it, avoid it. I like to hit them with, hey, just aside from price, do you have any other questions about how the process works or what it looks like for us to work together? Would anything stop us from working together? Something like that. To overcome, I do the 3-list thing that I did when we were role-playing with Robin. So that's real quick. I need to think about it, right? Price doesn't work, and then you get a hang-up. On the front end, I like to shift blame. You guys have heard that before. Hey, man, I do see investors in the area are paying between X and Y price for properties like these. What would you say to an investor if they made an offer like that? Now it's not me that's making the offer, and at least I'm not going to get hung up on, right? On the other side, overcome. Dude, totally understand. Sometimes we get our numbers wrong. Can I ask and then typically their asking price, the lowest you would take for the property, right? Would you consider an offer below that, right? And I'm going to loop them as low as I can before trying to meet in the middle, basically. So that's where negotiations begin, right? And I say begin because, man, people just breeze through negotiations sometimes, and there is just a whole process to it. It is probably one of the most valuable activities in your business. You can do everything right in terms of discovery, but if you don't actually make the offer or close well, you're not going to get the deal, right? And then call me back in a few months. That's a timing objection at some level, right? Hey, if we were to come to terms, so ahead of time, I want to make sure, is a timing objection BS or is a timing objection event-based, right? Those are the kind of two main ones. If we were to come to terms on price, would anything stop us from, signing an agreement in the next few days and getting closed out in the next 30, 60, 90, 180 days, whatever your closing timeline is? And then to overcome it, hey man, totally understand that time helps us make decisions, but can I ask, what are you hoping will change in the next couple of months? Or I want to do some probing and discovery, and we can go down a couple of different talk tracks there, but just wanted to blitz through the objections here. You guys have heard a lot of these before. Pretty sure a lot of these are in the script that's in front of you that we printed off.